Look, Hannah, I remembered to share my screen again. Right, so there's a couple of them in there. Let me keep track of this. Okay. Oh, the other part of that story was that science is objective. You know, science is constantly evolving. There's a question that needs to be answered. The scientific inquiry just says, why is that happening? Why is this thing in nature happening? What is happening to this in terms of gravity or chemistry or biology, whatever it is? And the scientist sets out to find the answer to that. And the answer should be done with double-blind studies and lots and lots and lots of data and lots of experimentation. And then you come to a conclusion. This is happening because of this. But at any time during that process, things could change. So there could be a new revelation and that throws all the other findings out of the water. But it's still objective to as far as the definition of the term objective can be. In terms of subjective, that's what the rules of art are. And so what I had always been trying to do is to rationalize art, is to take art to artistic inquiry. And it's like, what are you setting out to do? And then you do it, and did you accomplish the task that you wanted to do? And so that would be like the equivalent of saying arts and sciences are very related to each other, except that there's a huge subjectivity in art. And my boss at one point had told me to make a subjective rubric. And it took me a month to like working all my extra hours that I was supposed to be putting in as the assistant director, trying to figure out how to do a subjective rubric. And what it came out to was just kind of like a rubric for art. And it was kind of interesting because I had already finished my first master's degree, which the concentration was on criticism and art criticism and criticism for art as it applies to animation. And it was all about critiques and rubrics and following directions. And I gave a whole bunch of examples, and it was actually a pretty good eye-opening paper. And I think that the idea of doing a subjective rubric is good for all forms of art. And then it kind of maybe take a wider look at it and say, well, some things are less subjective than others. Like for instance, animation has a good degree of objectivity in it, that as long as the characters are moving even a little bit and the music is okay and the voices are okay and the story is okay, the animation doesn't have to be on 2s, it could be on 9s. You could be cross-dissolving this thing every 2 seconds. It doesn't even have to be moving, and the audiences will still understand what's going on, and it will still have a production value. It will still have an entertainment value. And animation can be like that because it's related to film and often to literature and story and all of that fun stuff. And as you move away from animation and cinema and keep going to the left and talking about literature and paintings can be really subjective. Like I know that I hate Jackson Pollock. His paintings just annoy the snot out of me. There was no thought process put into it. Oh, let's splash some color over here. Oh, let's splash some color over there. And it wouldn't be terrible because they have a presentation value, except that I don't think that there's any time in the history of art where anything that he had ever done is worth $5 million. You know, it's just like people kept trading it. They were buying it, they were selling it, they were buying it, selling it. And he was in the book. He sold it to a bunch of friends. He sold it to a bunch of art dealers. They resold it, and the value keeps going up and up. It's crap. Everything he did was crap. Every single thing. And there was a lecture I was doing on portfolio and aesthetics and rubrics and all of that. And it just so happened that there was a story that came on the electric internet about the time that the David Letterman show, the Late Late Show with David Letterman, was going off the air. And I'm not sure if I had seen that particular episode or not, but he had a woman from Arizona on his show because the part of the story was that her son was marrying this woman, and she just did not like this woman at all. She didn't like the fiance. She didn't like the fiance's family, and she just hated that whole business. And she was really, really mad that he had picked her and that they were getting married. And she was not shy about it. She was not shy about it whatsoever. And so she was like begrudgingly went out and said, well, I guess I got to go get them a wedding present. And she was at a garage sale and she found this really ugly painting. And she said, oh, that'll be perfect. It's big, you know, it's ugly, and they'll have to say thank you. It'll be the perfect gesture, which is different than the gestures that we use. Right, Hannah? Right, Mr. Billy. So anyway, she puts the painting in her garage, and her daughter, the sister of the brother who's getting married, comes home. She comes into the garage. She's like, Mom, what's that painting in the garage? Oh, that ugly thing, I'm giving it to your brother for his wedding. It's the most horrible thing I've ever seen. And the daughter was like, Mom, that's a Jackson Pollock. She's like, I don't know. Don't you think it's ugly? She's like, well, yeah, but it's a Jackson Pollock, Mom. That thing is probably worth millions of dollars. What? And they got in a big fight. And because of it, it hit the news. You can investigate it. It's out on you can Google it right now if you want. And as it turns out, it's like, it would have had the opposite effect of trying to make a statement to her son and her new daughter-in-law about how much she despised them by giving them $1 million painting. It's like, and I forget what happened. I don't know what she did with the painting. Hannah, did you find the article?
No, but I was thinking about this movie called The Accountant. It's got like one of his paintings in it, and they kind of ripped the poker one with the dog.
Yeah.
Dogs.
Yeah.
They ripped that, and I was thinking, yeah, I'd probably keep the dogs.
Well, I forget what happened, but it's a really good example of subjectivity, and music is extremely subjective. Some people hate Cajun music. Some people just can't stand it. But music is extremely subjective. Some people like EDM, and other people hate it. You know, some people like country. Some people like country music, and other people hate it. And so, music is the perfect example of subjectivity. This is the international nonverbal gesture for subjectivity. Why does this say more? Oh, someone's chatting. The movie The Accountant. No, I haven't seen the movie The Accountant. What were you going to say about it, Hannah?
Oh, it's got Pollock's work in it, and yeah.
It's got what in it?
It's got his artwork, the artwork that you like.
Yeah. Well, do research if you can see David Letterman and Jackson Pollock, and see if you can put the article in the chat. All right, so let's do this one more time. Sorry, I'm distracted today because the weather was nasty all day. Okay, so let's take a look at these. All right, so remember everyone that what I was looking for was a plan, right? What are you planning on doing here? You have your script, it should be really simple. The guy is just gonna stand there, he's gonna take an anticipation, he's gonna run for a little bit, he's gonna jump over the bench, and then he's going to cut, and he's gonna stop, and then he's gonna catch the Frisbee, right? Remember, that was just my example from last week. Now, I can't see why. Oh, I see what I did, okay. I just turned that down a little bit. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Run, jump, climb, stand, catch. Okay, so be careful, Hannah. That's a lot. What I would suggest is if you want to tackle this, you could just do keys. You don't have to like animate this on 2s or 3s or 4s even. Your animation can be on 8s. Maybe when it's a little faster, you can put that on 2s or something. But this does not have to be like quote unquote fully animated.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of had this idea where instead of playing catch in the field, it's played by animals on the top of like buildings. So I was gonna have him run from along one building, jump to another building, like kind of scamper climb up, and then stand and catch the ball.
Okay. Okay, and what are they gonna catch?
Well, I was just gonna make it like baseball.
A baseball, okay. Okay, so it's a good idea. So do you have 2 shots?
Yeah, I was trying to work out the cameras. I was thinking of having the camera kind of, is it truck along where it goes like this and then go up a little bit as he goes up on the higher elevation. So it'd be like an L shape kind of movement.
Okay, so my suggestion would be something like this. Would be is that what this camera sees right here would be something like, so you can see that you probably want the camera a little closer here. And you can just have a kind of a neutral pose where the character is just kind of standing there. Maybe this thing is like the one of those little door hatches that come up off the top of the building. So
yeah, exactly.
maintenance guys can get up there. You know, something like that. So there's like, and the door can be open. You know, and you could see like the little steps that go down, something like that. So the guy's just standing there in the center screen. So what might be fun is if this is just, this is panel 1, this is shot 1. And in this shot, he very simply takes an anticipation. So you see what he's doing? He's doing this with his hands, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
I mean, it's a very cartoony thing to do, is to raise your elbows like that. And one of the reasons is silhouette. You always want the silhouettes to read as well as good as possible. And then he runs. So you have him just running. And we've already done a run, so you know how to do that. And you could have him just run off the screen. So I don't know if you need to do this truck thing. It might be just a little hard for us in the world of production. What you would probably do is have a wider background and actually have him run and jump off the building, right? And then this building is higher. So this building is like up over here, right?
Yeah.
And so you would have him running and you would just have a really wide shot like this. And then in After Effects, you could start out with your camera really wide. You could do it any number of ways. You could start out really wide so you show the whole cityscape. And then maybe there's more to see, maybe there's other buildings. And then you push in to this camera and then you push over. So this is camera A, this is camera B, and then this is camera C. So you would animate this guy just standing, taking his anticipation, running, jumping, and then right at this point in the animation, you would cut. And then you would do all this camera work in After Effects. You would just use a wide shot, and then you would push in, you would set your key, you would pan, you would set your ease in and your ease out of this camera move. But I don't think that we need to do that. I think that what you can do is just stay right here. Stay right here. And just have him anticipate, start, hold, anticipate, run, and then run off the screen, and then hold for a moment, right? And then do another shot. Now this one's going to be fun, because what this is this. And this is him flying in the air. And so, you could do a couple of things. You could kind of take a look on the electric internet about what poses look good when they're flying. My guess is that it's going to be something like this.
Yeah, I had a look, and it was kind of like as they go to jump, their arms are back, and then when they're in the middle, their arms are forward to kind of propel them forward. So
Right. So you go from the running pose to this pose, and then you have him reaching up to grab the ledge right here, right? And both of these legs then are kind of, and so, I'm only drawing like a little stick figure here. But the thing is that if you do this in slow-mo, this could be really fun. So this is like, this stuff here, it's all on 2s. And then when you get to this, it might be really fun if this is on 16s, just like chink, 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 and then do this shot right here. Well, this could all be the same shot. And then what I didn't see is how you have him catching.
yeah, I didn't work that bit out. So I think he stands and then turns around and then catches it.
So you have truck, and then he's going to land right here. So I think that shot 3 would just be a little bit more complicated. But I think that what you want to do then is have like the edge of this building right here be like this, and then just have a single vanishing point. So this is the top of the building. And so this is him coming up. And then he's going to kind of have to get on his knees for a second. And then he's going to stand up and reach and catch the ball. Right? So even though I'm just doing the little gestures here, and so it's up to you. I mean, this is really standard. So he would be overshooting, he would be stretching to catch the ball, and then he would settle into a normal pose over here and facing back the way it came. And he's like, and remember your silhouette, right? Yeah, I got the ball. Yes, I got it. And you could do that little thing where, yes, I got it. It also might be fun that, you've accomplished the run, the jump, and the catch part of it. And this is totally up to you whether you want to try this, is that this is shot 3. So in shot 3, shot 3, that he catches the ball and his feet are still in the air. And the inertia takes him right off the building. It's up to you. Right off the screen, right off the building. right? And then,
Would they be able to, like, would you be able to see that he's gone off the building, or is it just assumed that he goes off the building?
well, if you widened out the shot just a little bit, you could see the whole thing. Right, and that would just make him smaller. But you could also keep it a mid shot like this and just let him go off the screen right here. It's up to you. I think it might just be funny. It's up to you. So you can end with this pose with him just saying, yes, I got it. Or, you know, all this bravado of jumping the distance of the buildings and the idea of like, oh my God, I got to get up there. And he does get up there. He gets his little foot up there. This is his tail, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and then he finally catches it. You know, that's one variation. And then the other one is that he catches it a little farther to the right and the inertia just carries him off the building. It's up to you. If you do this, what might be really fun is you do like a little cartoon smoke, shoot, right? You know what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah.
it's like
Like
a little
you know.
cartoon dust.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think you're in a good place. You want to take a screenshot of that? Got it? Okay. All right, what else were you thinking? Is there anything else you were thinking about?
No, that was pretty much it.
All right, it's a good idea. Make it happen. But remember, it doesn't have to be, so let me do this. This will be for everyone. In the traditional world of animation, there's these things called exposure sheets. And we do ours horizontally. And so if you're on 2s, you know, everything is going to have 2 frames. If you're on 8s, it'll be for 8 frames. If it's on for 16s, you know, that's a longer period of time. Vertical camera sheets are the same way. And you would just say, this is drawing number 1, and it's being held to drawing number 3, 5, 7, 9. And if you hold the drawing all the way to 17, this is what the traditional horizontal or vertical camera sheets would look like. And so if you just think about how this looks if you were to do it vertically, because one option for you is to just think about this timeline and the cut. So it's like in the middle of your rough animator application, you just stop, right? And then you open up. So this is shot 1, and then this is shot 2. And so what you're going to need to do then is, remember how we talked about a pause at the beginning of a shot? And so this pause gives your eye a place to establish, and for some reason Zoom won't let me draw today, to establish what's going on in the scene, what's going on in the shot. So this pause right here is 8 frames, which is 1 beat. But when you're opening up a brand new film, a brand new clip, you could easily use 2 beats or 3 beats or even 4 beats. And that translates to 16 frames, 24 frames, or 32 frames. And that's just nothing. So even though this sounds like a lot, so instead of this being 8, you could say 32 frames, just so that the eye is a place to establish what's going on, whether it's horizontal or vertically, because if it's vertical, you would go drawing number 1 all the way down to drawing number 32, and then 33 is the next drawing. You know what I mean? So don't be afraid of these big numbers when you're establishing your shots. Here, you would end the background, and then you would start a new one. And then when you're doing shot 2, now put another beat. So this beat right here is going to be, maybe it's just 2 beats. So it's 16 frames. So all your animation is happening and you get your anticipation and the run and the jump. And all of that comes out to about 117 frames. And then you have shot 2. And in shot 2, you start out with, well, no, he's flying in the air. So you might only want 8 frames because it's quicker. And so you start up with shot 2 and he's just floating in the air. So shot 2 is drawing 1 all the way to drawing 7 and drawing 8, and then 9 comes in. So these are camera sheets. And don't be afraid of big numbers because this is on 2s. And if you don't think that you want to do it on 2s, then you could put it on 4s. You could 1, 5, 9, 13. And then you don't have to go in and do these in-betweens if you really don't want to. So it's about planning at that point. Get it laid out and do a layout and see what your overall duration looks like without like really any animation in it. And having said that, let me do this. I'm just going to do a quick little share with you. I think I have it here. No, I have it in. So yeah, there's my ladies climbing again. This is technically what's called a layout. And a layout describes the whole shot. And this is from a animation, actual feature film called The Pups of Liberty. Has anyone seen this? It came out like 8 or 9 or 10 years ago or something. And it's just the retelling of the signing of the Declaration of Independence told by dogs. And this is a wonderful example. It's like my favorite example of what a layout is, because here is the young girl who's handing out literature, and she hands the literature to the lady dog, and then the girl moves closer to the camera, and then even closer, and then meets this guy, right? And so while the camera is moving from position A to position B, you don't need to animate the lady dog when she's not in the shot. And when the young little pup is talking to the older pup lady, you don't need to animate this guy. You don't need to animate this guy until he's inside the shot. And so layouts were set up so that you looked at them in terms of production about when the camera is on the young girl and the lady, then there's no reason to animate the guy. And when you're animating the young girl and the guy, there's no reason to animate the lady, so that you wouldn't be wasting your time. You want to animate both of these characters for the full duration of the shot. And so this layout tells you exactly when to stop animating the lady and when to start animating the guy. So this is a layout. And this is kind of what you're doing, Hannah. If you're doing a shot that is a tracking shot or a pan involved with it, do a layout. So this is technically what a layout is. And there's a bunch of other ones. So there's 2 reasons why you do a layout. And one is so that you're not animating something that's not in camera. And the other one is to make sure that the camera is going to work, and that for whatever you're doing, that the stuff that you're doing for the character, the animation of the character, is going to be in camera at one point. So this is giving me a really, really good technical example of layouts for animation. And I got this Pups of Liberty layout. Now, the funny thing here, and it's not funny in a kind of way, it's kind of more of like a kind of way, is that I had been teaching animation for, I don't know, 12 years before I started working on my master's degree in animation at the academy. And by the time I got to my layout class, right, and when I went into that class, I'm like, oh, well, I'm already an animator, I don't have to worry about this. I was always like super good student, listening and paying attention. And for one of the modules, I posted this exact layout JPEG into the class because this is the one I'd always use, and I explained why I liked it. And as it turns out, my professor animated on this shot. And this was like technically his drawing. And he's like, oh my God, Billy, where'd you get that from? I haven't seen it online. I'm like, oh my God. So take it for what it's worth. This is ideal in terms of a layout. It's really the best. The best way to understand why you're doing multiple poses of the character if you're going to do a camera move, making sure that the camera is in the right place at the right time. All right, thank you, Hannah. Brianna has a movie for us. All right, so this is just too fast. So I'm gonna run, jump, climb, catch, land, jump. Okay, there's 2 jumps, that's fine. Again, Brianna, you might just be okay with not animating everything on 2s and 4s and 6s and 8s, just get it laid out. So I'm just gonna nose through this. So the character is standing, they take an anticipation, they run, they jump up to the wall. I would be careful about this perspective. Technically, if you have any kind of regular camera, you're going to have whatever this is, the baseline, and that you might have a horizon that's right around the same point. And if you have a line like this that's suggesting that there's, so this would be like the ground plane. God damn it. So this would be like the ground plane here, but then this would be the horizon, and that the vanishing point is right here on the horizon. And so this is a really oblique wall. If you wanted to do anything, you would say, make this a shallower wall, and you don't see the top of it. You know what I mean, Brianna?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's just, so this, I mean, you can have oblique walls like that in architecture, but just follow these really simple rules of ground plane or baseline, whatever it is. And then this is the horizon. That's where your vanishing point is. And just have him climb a wall that's like that. All right. Sorry, I should have erased that. There we go. All right. So just a couple of things when you're all doing layouts like this, these are good, but kind of think about, remember when we were doing the oscillation of our head in a walk and in a run? The same thing kind of applies here. You know, he's gonna go like that. So I think your head is in the right place. Get your line of action. But I want a good silhouette on these arms here. So I think the feet are okay, but you might want both arms in the backward position here, because he's doing an anticipation to push his arms up so that when he does push his arms up and his knees up as well, that creates the inertia. So I think you're missing a keyframe here, just about what the pose looks like when his arms are up. His knees are up. And then this one, you really can't see the other leg. So let that other leg dangle if you want. So he's only got like the right leg, the near leg to us, that's bringing more of the inertia. And that thing, if we follow more of a line like this, it can like land on the wall right here or right here. And so that alters this pose, so that once he gets into this position, his line of action is going to go from an S shape to a C shape. And these arms are going to land on the wall. So you only see this other elbow just for a second. And then this foot is going to land here like that. And then this leg is just going to have to be down here a little bit. So I think that that'll work better for you. Let me just rub that down a little bit. So once again, the line of action went from neutral to a little bit pushed, and now it's more of a simple shape, and then it's now an S shape, and then it just changes to a C shape. His body is now C shape. His arms are hitting the wall. This leg is going to hit the wall, and this one is just going to drag behind it. So this is a better silhouette. All right, so do you want to take a screenshot of that?
Yeah.
Brianna, let me know when you've got it.
Okay.
Got it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is where he's just kind of, oh, sorry. So this is where he's just kind of hanging on the wall, waiting to catch the ball. Okay. I'm just thinking that it might be better if you have a better silhouette. His hand is out here. Is he got a baseball glove?
Yes.
Okay, so
I
that
just
little
really
baseball glove out there. And what I'm doing is I'm giving myself enough room here so that when the ball comes down and hits the baseball glove, you can have the baseball glove move down, you know, as much as you need it. So the weight of the baseball ball, weight of the baseball brings the hand and the glove down and then back up again past where he caught it. Right, so this is the furthest extreme down, and then this is the furthest extreme up. And then you settle back into this position here. And so the way the animation works is if you're going to do a cut shot like this, it also might be better to go to a mid camera. And at this point, he's already there. And so I don't think you need to animate too much of this, except for the hand being in the neutral position first. So this is neutral, and then down and extreme upwards, and then neutral again. So the way the animation works is that as the ball is coming in, his hand is neutral for however many frames, 16 frames. And then it catches the ball when it goes into the down position. And you probably need a couple of positions to ease in there. So a couple of positions for the down. And then it moves from the down into the neutral position. So again, there's probably 2 drawings between the down and the neutral. And then he's going to go up past the extreme. And it's going to have probably a couple of drawings going from the down to neutral to the extreme. So you might need 2 drawings each. And then this neutral here becomes a settle. And you might need just 1 or 2. So that's how you accomplish this: neutral, down, pass through the neutral position up into the extreme, and then settle into the main pose. And then to end the shot, you're going to need a handle. And that's a technical term for what I was just telling Hannah. When you establish a shot that has 16 frames, which is 2 beats, or 32 frames, which is 4 beats, or 3 beats, which is 24 frames, this is a handle. In the animation industry, it's called a handle. And then put a handle at the end too. So you could have 3 beats, you could have 24 frames to end the shot right there. All right, so that would be my suggestion here. All right, you want to take a screenshot of that?
I got it. Thank you.
Got it?
Yeah.
All right, and then there's more there, so let me take a look. Oh, so you did that. I'm sorry, I went too far. Oh, and you did that too. Oh my God, you should have said, Billy, I did that. All right, so he loses the ball. Brianna. Brianna,
Hi.
does
Hello?
he lose the ball?
Yeah. He thought that he could he thought that he caught the ball, but it slipped out as he came down. And
Okay,
he celebrates at the end because he thought that he caught the ball.
so in this series of keys, the ball actually goes off this way and down. And then he lands, right? Oops, sorry. He lands and then starts to celebrate. And is
That's
there another drawing where he looks in his glove and goes, oh no, I actually didn't catch the ball?
See, I was thinking of that, but I don't know if it would be too much.
Well, I think it might be. It also might be fun to just play with a series of poses like they were a boardomatic. And so what a boardomatic is, it's a storyboard shot to time. And so from this position here, he's on the wall up here, right? So you're missing a pose. So that's him. He's probably a little bigger. So he would have to go from position 1 and to land back on the ground here in position 2. Then this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, or I'm sorry, this is 5, this is 6, and this is 7, as he's starting to celebrate, as long as I understand this correctly. So what might be fun is if you get all this animation working. Now I think that what can happen here is that he's up on the wall and the other shot has just happened. It's already happened. The ball is out and gone. And so he's going to go from this key position here to down to draw the key position 2. And you probably only need like 2 drawings to get there. And so this is technically like a squash. And then this is kind of like a stretch for drawing number 3. But drawings 4, 5, 6, and 7 are all right here. He doesn't move. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So having said that, what I think that you can do is reframe this. Like this. You know, and get his feet in there. I didn't draw it exactly how I intended it, but you know, get his feet like right there. It's just because you have all this negative space here, you don't want to have that. All right, so if you do that, and so this drawing right here of him celebrating, I mean, it can advance. He can take like a step forward and just start to celebrate. Woohoo, right? It's like he's starting to celebrate. Usually his mid is going to be on his left hand if he's right-handed. So, and my drawing is really scratchy, sorry. So what you've got then is So this is shot 2, right? When he reaches this wall, that's shot 2. And like I had said, you can do like a mid shot so that the audience can see the ball going off. And by the time you get here, this is technically shot 3, which is fine. And you're just going to reuse the same background that you had for shot 1. But what might be fun, and this is totally up to you, is if you do like your map is right here. So if you do a map, this is the guy running, and this is the outfield wall, right? And this is where the ball lands, right out here. So here's him running, and here is him jumping, and then here is him catching. So that this is supposed to be a J. So this is running and jumping and catching, and then landing. And then I'll put a C for celebrate, a CE for celebrate. So right now your camera isn't too crazy. It's just kind of right here. And then for that shot over here, the camera is actually like right here, right? Are you following along? And then in this shot right here, the camera where he's celebrating it's really close to this camera. So you can just use the same camera, right? But what might be really fun is if you do something like a POV shot. And so in this pose right here, and again, this is totally up to you because it would be just a little bit of work, is that you would have to get him into a neutral kind of pose, and then you'd have to kind of bring his glove up and have him look down, right? So his hand is coming up and his head is looking down. And then, so that's all in shot 3. And then in shot 4, you can just do this thing where it shows like an extreme close-up of a baseball glove that's empty. But you have to set it up. So the arm comes up, the head goes down, maybe even the hand comes up here to start to take the ball out of it. Right? So that this is his baseball glove right here. And so this is just a static shot. There's nothing moving in shot 4. It's just on the shot for 36 frames of just nothing. Shot 4, it's just 36 frames of the baseball glove empty. And then you just cut back to a shot of him in a close-up right in the middle of the camera going, you know, what did I do? These are his eyebrows. Something like that.
Okay.
Give it a try. I don't think that as an animator, you're obligated to continue the animation. But if you do this, if you do shot 4 as a static shot, and then let's say that you don't like this pose, let's say you like, where'd the ball go? That's not working either. I'm trying to get my face to it. Something like that. And if you do that, and that's not moving either, right? So this is just that close-up shot of him. Then so this is shot 5, and in shot 6, it might be fun to just do like a dejected pose. Loser. See how it works. Do you want to take a picture of that one too?
Okay, got it. Thank you.
All right, and then my suggestion to you would be is to, but the first thing is to just do thumbnails for all those little positions like we just talked about. And then see if it's something that you can do, and that if not, you can just end it kind of just where he's still on the wall when he reacts, that kind of deal.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Brianna. My computer hard drive is waking up. All right, Damien has a movie for us as well. All right, so this is just straight from my suggestion last week, which is fine. My suggestion would be is that you can certainly do this, you can go with this, but tighten it up a little bit. You know, right now it looks like he's got this giant beard. Damien, are you with us?
Yeah.
So when you're doing this, I mean, this is fine for like a sketch or something, but kind of think about where you want him to land. So he's standing here, and remember that there's an action safe and a title safe area. You got the center focal point, you got your cinematic thirds. So if this is your horizon, then this is your ground plane. And so move this up a little bit. And there's no reason why he can't just be a little bit closer to these two cinematic thirds. So get him to just have a line of action, you know, standing neutral, minding his own business. And he doesn't have to be in the side view. He can be a little bit more 3/4 for us, so we can see both his eyes and his ear. And then he would take his anticipation. He would take his anticipation backwards and as deep as you want. And the knee is going to be bent. And this foot can just be up in the air, right? And then his arms are going to go like this. Like he's taking a great big cartoon anticipation. And then have him run. This drawing's a little high on the, probably more down like this. And then the jump. Trying to figure out what to do with his arms here. You know, something with his arms. And so your trajectory is he's going to land right here. And the reason that I'm doing this is because even getting to this point, you realize that here he's going to land and you're squashing, right? This can be a stretch drawing if you really want. And then you're going to need a recoil drawing where he's just now returning to the normal size that he was, or the normal pose that he was. So once you set that up, you realize that the bench is in the wrong position. So give yourself a vanishing point. just so that it's laid out better. If you do something like that, I think it'll work better for you. Okay, so then your poses are pose 1, pose 2, the run pose is 3, the jump pose is 4, the squash landing is 5. You could do a couple of things. You can overshoot into pose 6 and go up further than what he's going to land, and then settle into a pose 7, which is downwards just a little bit. You also might want to try kind of what I'm doing right now is letting my hand just take over. He's got a very proud pose right here. So he's going to put his arms up on his hips. And he's very proud. Right? He's very proud here. So here he's got like a neutral expression, but here he's very proud. And you can do that with 7 or 8 different keys. Or you want to take a picture of that?
Yeah.
Let me know when you got it.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Jeanette is up next. Let's take a 20-minute break. I've been talking for an hour, so we'll look at this in 20 minutes. Take a 20-minute break. All right, let's see where we left off. We left off. Jeanette. Okay. So my suggestion here,
Oh, yeah, share screen.
yeah, that would be nice. Okay, so I see what you're doing. I think that it's fine. It's a really good idea to emphasize the idea of the character running and jumping up and catching the ball and the camera zooming in on him at the same time. I think that you should keep it just one camera. So leave this open. So you've got a lot of open space right here. And so what I would suggest is, what's that?
That was going to be a goal. It was a soccer goalie.
No, yeah, I know. But there's nothing going on there. So
Yeah.
so you can have the goalie standing kind of neutral. You know, his hands are at his side. And the goal, you don't have to see the whole goal. You can just let it kind of go like that, and everyone will know that it's, and put the little netting in there. So that, and everyone will know. I mean, you can also kind of just show a little bit more of it. But then this will give you the opportunity to have him do his anticipation. And I would suggest, instead of having him come up into the camera, I would suggest doing it just in the side view. And I anticipated this and I made notes about this. So here's a couple of things to think about. First of all, I think that if you cut this off here, then you'll have a little bit of extra space over on the left. And the advantage of him standing neutral, taking an anticipation backwards, running and coming up into the camera a little bit and jumping, you know, maybe the ball is like up here. So maybe he's going to catch the ball like this. And then land. So you got this much more space. So he's going to land down over this way, and he's going to change his line of action here. He's going to have the ball like this, and then he's going to return to a neutral position, right? And then you could do the thing where he's got the ball and under his arm like this, right? And so your sequence would be 1, and then anticipation is 2. You're starting to run 3, 4, 5. Jump is 6. Catch is 7. This is a big movement, but you might need an in-between for 8, and then 9, and then an in-between for 9 to 10 to recoil, like 11. So there's an advantage of doing it this way. The advantage is that your character increases size dramatically, right? The only thing you have to worry about is that he continues to grow. And so you can see that if he's coming up into the camera, that he is continuing to grow, so that you started out with him at a measurement that was about 2.5 inches here. And by the time he reaches this position, and he's just all grins and glory with the ball right here, then he's twice as big. And the advantage is that all you have to keep in mind is that when you're doing each one of the progression drawings, that he's getting bigger. And then you'll just have to worry what the timing is like down in your timeline. It's not the easiest thing to do, but it might work. It just might work, right? Then the other option, and do you want to take a picture of that?
All right, I'm just gonna check if it works, because sometimes, okay, I think, yes, I got it.
Got it? Okay. So the other option is that, again, I think that you have him standing in a neutral position. I'm just going to do it over here. So you have your horizon, and I'm going to bring him just over by the right focal point. And he's kind of got his feet apart. He's just kind of waiting. His hands are waiting. And so you draw the goal behind him, the netting, and you track him on a line that's just very parallel to the horizon. And remember too, that as long as they're outside, you could have like trees back here, right? You just have a series of trees. And over here too. So, but what happens is that if he's going to run and jump and catch and land, and doing it in the side view, you can very carefully monitor how he is staying the same size. And that might be a really good thing for you, so that you start out with this neutral pose, whereas he's getting ready. And you got a really great silhouette on him. And then he's going to take a couple of steps and run. He's going to jump, right? He's going to catch that ball up here, and he's going to land. So that's his trajectory. And so you figure out what all those poses look like, so that he lands here and he stays the same size. That way, nothing funny can happen, right? Nothing funny can happen. And you just have that same idea here, where he's like, now he's happy. He's got the ball here. He's like, yeah, and he's doing something with his hand over here. Yeah. And up here, he's got his hands catching the ball. He's got his feet up in the air. Always think about a good silhouette, right? And study what soccer games look like, so that you can get these poses a little bit more accurate, instead of just me suggesting Tex Avery style motion or a cartoon style motion, because that's just a stylistic thing. So that's the other option here, is to have it happen just from one position to another, right? Because I think that if you have him come up into the camera, you're gonna find that, you know, technically his foot right would be here and it would be out of the camera. I think you might have better luck doing it this way, just keeping it all in the side view.
Okay.
All right, so then your poses would be neutral is 1, anticipation would be 2, running would be 3, jumping would be 4, catching would be 5, landing would be 6, that's the squash. And then you have an overshoot, which would be 7, and then your neutral would be 8. All right, you want to take a picture of that? Screen grab.
Okay, good.
Got it. All right, I just noticed that Juan joined us. Juan, what we are doing is looking at files that are uploaded to today's date in the gradebook. So if you have anything that you would like me to look at, you can put it in that folder. All right, let's continue. Oops, let's continue. Randy.
Yep.
All right, I see what you're doing. So is this a ball?
Yeah.
All right, so I think that you might want to just try to clean this up just a little bit, because I think that you might find that it's just a little complicated to go from running with his posture facing forward to the right, and then all of a sudden he's turning behind him and running backwards. And then in the very next pose, he's already turned back again.
No, that was just a note for me to turn him around the other way.
Well, right, so I would suggest just having it happen once. So,
No, that's what I meant. Like it was supposed to be a turn once. It's just a note for me that he was supposed to be the other direction.
so I think this is fine. You can have him running. Remember, when you're drawing a running pose, you can always just have one leg on the ground. And I like this idea of starting with this pose and then having having him look behind. I think also that in order to get this to work really cleanly, it might be fun to just emulate the camera. And so what I mean by that is you have him running in place. So you have him like, you know, we did our run cycle.
Yeah.
So he's like right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, in place. And so technically the camera would be following him because it's in place. And once he does that for maybe 8 cycles, right? So what you would do is you would get those 10 or 12 drawings in your timeline, and you get those working. And then you just copy and paste it 8 times. So this is your timeline in Rough Animator, right?
Yeah.
So you copy and paste it 8 times. And then right here, you take this step right here, then he turns his head. And so for this one, this cycle right here, it's still the same body. and arms and legs and everything, but the head is going to animate over. So change the head out here. So copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy and paste, and then erase the head, and then have the head turn happen here, right?
Got it.
And then all of a sudden, while this is happening, you might have to, because if this is only 10 frames, this might not be long enough for it to read properly. So you might need to do it over the course of 2 cycles. So if this is 20 frames, that would be almost 1 second. That sounds better. So his head turns in this. And then from this point onwards, then he can take his anticipation. So you take this line of action and his head is still looking backwards, but you kind of did his body to go down. And again, you just end on the 1 foot position here, and the body's going down. His arms can go up actually. So as he's going down, his arms are going up. This is called counter action. And then he jumps. And so when he gets up in the air, now you can have him like actually move across the stage. And that would be okay. So now he's like jumped and he's in the air. And his hands are now going to reach. And they're going to progressively get closer as I'm sorry, I should have drawn that, because now his body's moving. And you can play with this pose as much as you would like. So this is where he catches it. And again, he's facing this way. And then he progresses. So now just like have him, he's starting to land right here. So this line of action is this way. So now have the line of action be this way. And so now his feet are getting ready to land. And he's going to bring the ball in. I can't scroll right now, but it might be just okay for you to get this arm neutral and this arm has the ball. He's just holding it. It's just like a baseball or a volleyball or something, right?
Yeah.
And then he lands. And then you can have your squash. So your legs are bent. This arm here is just out. This arm is out. And then he can overshoot then. And ideally you would want to try to keep the feet in the same place in the squash position.
Wait, what was in the squash position?
Yeah, when he's in the squash position, his feet are actually landing on the ground. Because if his feet move even a little bit, then the all apparent perception of weight will be lost. All right, and so in this position here, he can overshoot the position a little bit. He can stretch just a little bit. So you're going from squash into stretch and then settling into a neutral pose that is down just a little bit from it. And so this would be like your hero pose. And again, the feet are in the same position. It's just more of a neutral pose. All right, and so just clearly, he's running in place. This is your first pose, he's running. And then the head turn, just like we talked about down here, that would be your second pose. Your third pose would be this anticipation, which is down. And then your fourth pose is up. Your fifth pose is actually catching it. And again, he's turned between drawings 3 and 4, he's turned. And you don't have to worry about the meticulous like articulation of how he turns, just maybe a couple of drawings in between it. And then he catches it. Your sixth key is that he is starting to land. His seventh key is the squash drawing. Your eighth key is the overshoot, the stretch drawing. And your ninth pose is the settle pose. And he's all happy. So remember, that's just 9 keyframes basically, but you can have this be 120 frames. So you're taking 9 drawings and stretching it over 120 frames. If the run cycle itself is happening, and there's no handle on the first part of this, let's say that you have this dedicated to 12 frames and you have it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. So that is 96 frames of just the run cycle. That's just 1 and 2. And so then the rest of it goes is that you've got this timed out, this down position can be for 8 frames. This position here can be for 4 frames. The catching position can be for 4. This landing position here could be for 8. The squash can be for 2 or 4. And then the overshoot can be for 2. And then 9 is your last one. Have it on for 32 frames. And you add these together. So let's see if we got even close. So we got 15, 20, 28, 30, 64. So this whole action from here to the final is a total of about 64 frames. And 64 and 96 equal 160. So just about 11 seconds. That would be my suggestion. Give yourself a background to work with, right? So he's I don't know, make it a Frisbee, right? So then you can draw like a stadium. And you can even put stadium lights. Right? You got the idea?
Yeah.
You can put lines on the field because you're following my directions for perspective. And that'll help you dress up your shot a little bit. All right, you want to take a screenshot of that?
Yep. Got it.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Okay, Rachel.
Oh, Billy, I resubmitted it and it just has another drawing attached to
Okay,
it.
let me refresh this. Okay. All right, so your lady is running, she jumps, catches the ball, lands, and settles. So I think this is good. It's a good idea. And these are just your key drawings right there. All right, so I think just like everybody, you can probably guess what I'm gonna suggest here. And that is, you're just gonna use one camera, right? So set your horizon. And if this is her first pose, then figure out where her feet placement are gonna be. She can come in from off screen. Oops, I did it again. You can start out your shot where there's nothing and that your character just comes in and is running. Right? And so she enters into this position. And this then is like the last position of her run. before she takes her anticipation downwards with locked on this foot. So get her body squashed up as much as possible. Get this hand right here to go all the way out here. This knee is going to bend. This leg right here is going to be just up in the air a little bit, or it could be landing on the ground too, to help her push her up into the air. And so she's gonna push up like this, and her arc. So her head is going to arc like this. And so this drawing right here would be right here. So your drawing might be a little big. You might have to kind of, and again, I think that just like Randy's a second ago, she's going to turn. So now she's going to be facing the other way, which is fine. You know, in this pose right here, both of her feet are kind of dangling behind her. You could even put a little ground shadow. This arm is up in the air. This arm is like here, it's just dangling. And I'm doing that because you have her glove on her right hand. Right, and then the ball is just going to travel in. And for all of you who are doing this, remember that, you know, when we were doing our bouncing ball, what you all are looking at basically is this portion of the arc for the ball in motion, except that it's not this shape. And so your shape is looking like this, and you can certainly get away with cheating the positions of the ball a little bit and just having them move at a regular pace. They don't need to ease out or slow down or anything. And so if your ball is moving, there's a couple of things to think about. So what we're going to do right here is we're going to just take the stage and make it a little bigger so that we can see the ball, which would actually make the production of your character just a little smaller, but that's okay. And then from this, so the ball should enter into the screen as on the very edge, and you can break that rule that this is the action safe area or the title safe area. Just use this little area and then track the ball at an equal amount of timing so that when she's doing the squash position here and jumping up, she's going to need probably, I'm just going to track her head. I know that sounds weird out of context, but tracking her head on this arc, it's going to come up really fast. It's going to be here, and then maybe here, and then this position. So there is a little bit of ease into the top position right here. And so the drawing count is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drawings. So this animation here, 5 drawings on 2s equals 10 frames. And if these drawings of the ball are on 2s, then this squash position here should be timed when the ball is right here, whatever frame it is. So let's say that she's running. And you know what you can do? You can do another thing, and that is that you can do a insert shot where animators do this all the time, where you develop the run, right? And so she's just running. And you develop this, it's either 10 or 12 frames, right? And you develop this so that it's cycling, it's in place, and you can play it for however many times you want. You can cycle this for 8 or 9 or 10 cycles. And if it's 10 drawings, that means that this would be 100 frames. If it's 12 drawings, that means this would be 120. And then you stop. And in your timeline in Rough Animator, you copy and paste it. So now the character is smaller. You see if this character right here was already over here, I'm just going to draw it really lightly. It was in the screen. It was really big, right? And so when you cut, you can stop it on the timeline, and this is your timeline at 120 frames. And then at 120, frame 121, you have a new background. So this background here, make sure it's different enough so that we can see it. So if she's playing baseball, your stadium might look like this, right? It might be just really big like that. And her horizon is going to be about right there. And again, you cycle this for 10, so about 120 frames. When you get to this shot, then all of a sudden the background is completely different. The background is the lines on the ground. You know, it can be the foul line. It can be the bench. It can be, so this thing up here is now way up here. And this is the outfield. And she's really much smaller. At a frame 121, again, this is where you have your beat. So have 16 frames of nothing. Because this right here is shot 2. This is technically shot 2. Just have 16 frames of nothing. That's 2 beats. And then you copy and paste the run cycle that you had here so that it's smaller and that she takes 1 step, 2 step, 3 steps, right? And then squash, up, catch, and land. And again, she's backwards now. She's facing the other way. So her landing position should be like this. And her hand is going to just kind of like that. Her left hand is going to be like this. And again, so this ends up being the stretch position. This ends up being the squash position. And then you can repeat that. You can go from the squash back into an overshoot, which is technically another stretch, which is fine. And again, keep the feet in the same position and use what you know about squash and stretch. So her hand is coming in. So this is the overshoot and the stretch position. And then you're going to have her settle into a pose where her feet are in the same place and it's more of a neutral position. So your frame count would be something like this. This is shot 1. And for shot 2, you're copying and pasting. So this part of the run cycle is just copy and pasting. And so this is basically the first key pose for shot 2 that is new. And that's where she's turning her head in the squash position. So 1 squash position here, and then you'll have a 3rd drawing, a 4th drawing, a 5th drawing, a 6th drawing. And when she catches it, this will be a 7th drawing. There might be another couple of drawings here. So this will be the squash drawing here. The green drawing will be 8, 9, 10. And then the stretch drawing will be 11. And then settling into the neutral pose will be like 13, 12 or 13 drawings. All right, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, thank you.
And look at how cleverly we've got the upper left focal point here, and the upper right focal point is right here. The lower left is here, so everything is in the stage correctly. You've got her ground plane is here. The horizon is here. And so you've got a nice 1-point perspective, and you've got all your action happening in just 2 shots. And remember that this is easy. This 120 frames here is just 10 or 12 drawings cycling over and over again. This shot 2 is going to be 1, 2. So this is a total of 20 frames right here. And then this, so we'll just count the keyframes. 24, 26, 28, 20, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38. Up for stretch is 40. And then settling is like a total of maybe 44 frames or so. So you have 44 frames here, and it's coming in about 160 frames or so. which is then again, just around 11 seconds, which is really good. All right, you want to take a screenshot of that?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. All right, this is Evelyn. Okay, oh, there's a hole. Is this a hole in the ground? No, wait, this is a map. Evelyn?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like maybe there's not a hole in the ground. I don't know. I was thinking about it and I was like, maybe that doesn't need to be there.
All right. Well, I like your idea. You know, everyone was either taking my suggestion or the actions from my suggestion. And so this is different. Catching a falling baby is important. Having the baby hit the ground is important too, if you ask me. All right,
It's
so
a bad
what else-
baby.
well, he had it coming to him. He was screaming on the airplane anyway. All right, so I like this. It might be hard to get all of this action happening in one shot. But let's try to keep it in one shot here. So if this is your map and we're just looking down on this, right? So I'm gonna redraw your map up here a little bit. So your character's standing here and that's your first pose. And then they become surprised, which is their second pose. And then they run, which is their third pose. And then they're gonna have to jump over something here, which is your fourth pose. And they're gonna land or catch the baby in midair. Let me think about this for a second. Now I think it might be more interesting just to break it up. So neutral is one. Anticipation, start to run, jump, land, settle, and then catch the baby. And then return to a neutral position. So it's just a linear movement from left to right. And your camera is just going to be a neutral, normal camera. All right, and so I think that what you should do is just set this up so that you have kind of a neutral horizon. And I do like the idea of your character being big in the shot. And so I'm just going to put your character like right here. So this is just their neutral pose. They're just standing there, they're looking at their phone, right? Does that pose read okay?
Yeah.
Look, I made it a lady. And I don't know why she's got her hand down here, but it's okay. All right, and so she's gonna catch the baby right here. So what you need then is a tall building. And I'm thinking with my pencil here, so, because I want her to be here, but I don't want this line of the building interfering with these poses. So I'm just gonna put this as a really tall building. And you can make it whatever it is. It's an apartment building or whatever. There can be windows and doors. It might be fine if it's just one brick wall, right? And I don't know what a baby is doing falling by a brick wall, but that's okay. All right. So from this position here, she would look up, basically with the same kind of posture. Maybe this hand is going to change a little bit. Maybe her phone is going to drop down a little bit. So this hand is coming up and this hand is going down, and while her head is going backwards. Her feet are still in the same place. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, now what you can do is you can put in what you know. she can do a reaction here. She can do a squash and a stretch, and her eyes can get really big, right? Her eyes can even pop out of her head like a Tex Avery did, right? I mean, that's up to you. You don't have to do that. This is very, very cartoony thing to do. But you could put the squash and stretch right here. So, you know, that's the squash, her arms come up, and then the stretch, her arms go down. And then from the stretch position, build it so that it goes immediately into an anticipation. So that now her hands do, I can't see me in the monitor. Can you see me in the monitor?
Yeah.
So her hands do that, right? And so this foot comes up off the ground. And this foot can bend the other way, like that. So she's still got her cell phone in this hand right here. And then she's not going to need a lot of room to jump, but there's something that she's got to jump over here, right here. If this is a building, this could be a fire plug, right? It's just like they're in a neighborhood. There's like a fire plug right here. So that means that this would be like a sidewalk. And the pose would be is that this foot is going to land about right here. So you get her to start running. Oh yeah, at this point, she should probably still be looking up. So this foot lands and the other foot is still going to be behind it. And she's looking up. Let me erase just this little bit. There we go. All right, so this is her left arm and the phone is in her right hand. No, wait. No, I got that wrong. This is her right arm and her phone is in her left hand. She's right-handed. So this is the right arm and the left hand is here. And at this point, she can drop the phone, right? And let the phone just kind of doinkity, doinkity, doink, and just let it land like right there, right? Because it's important to catch the baby. So just let the phone land like right there. And so she's gonna, her footsteps are gonna be like this, and she's gonna, her next footstep is gonna be here. She's still looking up. So this foot is gonna land right here. And the other foot's behind it. And she's now going to be taking an anticipation to jump over the fire hydrant. Still looking up. Line of action. And you can do anything you want here. There's lots of things. You can just get your feet to be out of the way of the fire hydrant. You know, that's a classic pose like that, right? She's still looking up. And it helps too to draw a little line of vision for yourself. She's going to land right there. And you want to do the same thing that everyone is doing. So get her head, get the arc for her head, and get the head first, the line of action. This is a squash position. Get the feet to land, get the arms to just kind of neutralize. And then she's going to have to settle fast. So her line of action is going to be like this now, because her hands have to be out like that. Feet are in the same place. Her hands are here. And look, this is perfect that we've got it right on the cinematic thirds. And it's from this pose here that the baby can come in. And again, you're going to need at least 3 drawings of the baby coming in. And then she's going to take the weight of that baby, and her whole posture is going to flip. So this is called flipping the line of action. And the baby's going to actually bring her body down like this. And then she's going to recoil from that and end on a more neutral position with a regular line of action, feet still in the same place, and now the baby is close to her. All right, so I know this looks messy, but you should have been able to follow along with that, right? So this blue drawing is your key number 1. She's going to have to look up first, which is your second head motion. And then you can do the third drawing, which is the hands dropping. So you've broken up this action of her head moving first, and then the next keyframe is the hands, this hand moving down and this hand moving up. So that's your third position. And then your fourth key is taking in the anticipation. And then from this, we went from all the way from here to this position. So this is key number 5. Key number 6 is here. That's where she has lost her cell phone already. And then key number 7 is up in the air. Key number 8 is the green one where she's landing. Key number 9 is the brown one here. And then key number 10 is her catching the baby. And then key number 11 is the settle of the baby coming in and her head becoming more neutral. All right, does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
And it's just good, it's all in one shot. All right, you want to take a screenshot of that?
Okay, I'm good.
Got it?
Mhm.
All right, I'm going to refresh this. Did anybody else upload here?
Yeah, I did.
And who is that? I didn't see the name flash.
Zaylee.
Daily, got it. Okay. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. So
Yeah, sorry, I only did it on one.
that's okay. Chopping something. She turns to realize something is. Why does she have to look at her hand?
They caught like a parakeet.
It's a pair of keys, but why is that important?
So like they're trying to get into like a specific room that like needs the keys. Supposed to have the
Yes, I know, but that might be really hard to tell in just a visual story. You know what I mean? It's like there's narrative that's there, and it's a good story. It's like someone's trying to get into the house. Oh, I have the keys. So I have, is it a burglar that's trying to come in?
I mean, no, it's like they're trying to like sneak into like this like locked off part of like this kitchen. And like, yeah, they got their hands on like the keys and they're like running away from.
It might be, is this like a restaurant?
Yeah.
All right, why don't you do this? Explain to me what your short narrative is. So she's chopping.
So yeah, they like, I was just having them chopping to like do something, and they get like tossed a pair of keys to like this like room that they're not supposed to go into, that like belongs to like their boss that has something they like wanted to see, and like they realize they have the keys, so like they go and like they like run for it, like they run for the door before like anyone realizes. Yeah, it like get in there, like find what they were looking for.
And then she reacts and she's running and jumping to hide.
Or they're like running and jumping to like get to like the room faster before anyone sees.
So where does the catch come into this?
Like when they're like tossed the pair of keys.
Yeah, okay, so I have an idea for you. Are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready? Are you
Yes.
ready? Are you weighted with anticipation?
Well, now I'm not ready. Now I'm not. Give me a minute.
All right, so I like what you've got here. I like the idea of her chopping. I think that you can start in a mid shot like this. So all of these poses here are all lined up with the framing that would be like this. And so she'd be on the left cinematic third, right? She would just be kind of like on the left cinematic third, something like that. And so her turning her head, her reacting, and her looking down or whatever, that's all right here. I think, and that's your shot one. So I think that instead of doing this, it might be fun that as long as she's turned her head like this, that cut to the shot of a wall where there's doors and the doors are wiggling. So you just kind of like do the little motion lines like this. And so, or you could even do it, and I can help you next week so that you draw the doors that are bowing out, and then you do the other doors that are bowing inwards like this. And you repeat them 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So they're shaking. You could even do both. You could do like the doors shaking a little bit, and then the doors bowing outwards, and then the doors bowing inwards, and then come back to this. It's just a couple of really simple drawings. And then you cut back to her, right? In this shot here, right? Are you following me? So this is shot 2, where and your whole point here is that the doors are locked. You can even use the same motif of the restaurant kind of doors. And it might be a little confusing if these doors are like this. So you could do like it's a kitchen and just make this a shelf with some stuff on it. Are you following? Like, so this is shot 3. And her whole intent here is to jump over the counter and hide right here, right? Okay, so this might work. So she's chopping. She looks. You can have I don't think you need the keys, and just have the doors wiggling. And then she's going to take an anticipation from this position downwards and jump over the counter and land here. So when you get to this position here, she's going to be hiding. And she's going to be just enough so that she can see what's going on back, with the doors. And one really clean way to do it is just have her looking here for a moment and then getting up and running off the screen. Or no, wait, I'm sorry. There's a bowl right here that was on the counter, and she's got to catch that bowl before she gets down in the crouch position. So she's going to land over here. So she jumps and lands like this. Those are her feet. Her hands are just kind of behind her. And then she turns quickly. You don't have to have a lot of drawings. So she's going to turn. And now she's standing looking that way, but the bull is kind of wiggling around. And she's got to catch the bull. So then have her catch the bull, feet are in the same place, catch the bull, which will help you because then she's going to set it on the ground just right here. And then she's going to hit this brown pose right here where she's looking. And as she's in the brown pose right now looking, and you can do a couple of things. A clean way to get out of this is just to have her blast off and run off the screen. So you hit this pose, right? You go from this pose where she's kind of halfway kneeling on the ground, and this arm is propped up, and this arm right here is just finished settling the bull. And you could just blast from this into this pose right here. So that gets everything that you need for the directions. You got the jump, the catch of the bull, and the bull is just gonna land right there, and the run. And so you just do it in 3 different shots. Shot 1 is just simple head turn, and you can even do the take. You can redo your take right here, your reaction. Then you cut to the doors, and then you have this action, hiding, catching the bull, hiding, blasting off and running. Are you playing along with me?
Yeah.
All right, so one way to do this that would be really fun is that this is shot 1. And so you open up, and in your timeline for Rough Animator, you have whatever she's doing, the chopping, and you just plan it out like this, and then down the time. And so you repeat that action. This is just a cycle. And you chop, 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 right? So however long that takes. And now you don't need a handle here because you're doing what's called cutting on action. All of you, if you're still listening, you can all have title cards, which is a good idea. So you go from a title card, which is 3 seconds or so, and then she's already cut on action. She's chop, chop, chopping. And then she's going to look, and then she's going to react right there. And then this is shot 2. So this is shot 1. This is shot 2. This is shot 3. And shot 3 can take up a little bit of time. So then you plan out your action so that she's taking the anticipation. So from this pose, she's going to take an anticipation down. And then, so that can be your squash. And then your overshoot can be your stretch as she's jumping. So that then there's the jump. And then the land. And then the catching of the bull. And then the looking. And the waiting. But what might be fun is that now here you redo shot 2, right? Because she's looking off the screen. And so you just take whatever you did right here for all this action and you copy and paste it exactly like it was in shot 2. So if you go shot 1, shot 2, shot 3, go back to shot 2 for shot 4, and then you have her running off the screen. So this right here would be shot 5 actually. So it sounds like a lot, but there's not a lot happening in shot 1, just a head turn, chopping. Shot 2 is just the doors bowing out and bowing in, bowing out, bowing in. You know, little motion lines like right here, or even Briffits. Like I could show you how to animate Briffits next week. It's actually really easy. So you do wiggling and Briffits, and then the doors are being pounded. And then you cut back to her doing this. So this is your big shot right here. Shot 3 is her jumping, knocking the bull, landing, catching the bull, then looking. So there's a pause right here while she's looking. Let her pause as long as you want. She's not doing anything. The bowl is right there. And then you cut back to this shot. If you had this door wiggling around for 24 frames here, then when you repeat it here, it can be 24 as well, but we can talk about this next week, that it might be more interesting if you make it for 18 frames. And then this is the shot where she just gets up and runs. And you're only going to need a few drawings to get from this crouch pose to just blasting off and running off the screen. Step, 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 right off the screen. Right, does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think that it kind of cleans up your narrative just a little bit.
Yeah.
And you don't have to animate hands, which is, it's just really hard. All right, do you want to take a screenshot of that?
All right, I got it. Thank you.
Got it? All right, does anyone else have another file for me to look at? Anybody?
Yeah, I'm uploading mine right now. Just give me a second.
Who is that? I didn't see your name.
Ria.
Ria, okay.
Yeah.
Just let me
I'll
know.
let you know when it's in,
Okay.
but I am putting one
Okay.
there. Yeah, if you reload, it should be there now.
Okay. Oh, you've got 12 seconds of animation already. Okay, so you have the run and the jump. Where's the catch?
I wanted to try and have them like catch a fly.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's not very clear.
Well, and you have them doing a somersault.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think what you've got is really a lot of work. So I'm not going to go crazy about you catching anything, right? Because the idea of the catching was supposed to be weight. But I think
Right.
but what I think that you've got here is you've got the frog, and frogs are just notoriously nasty, right? I'm teasing. You're supposed to laugh.
I can add
Right.
a laugh track.
All right,
then.
so what I would suggest is that you have like, and I'll show you how to do this next week, but basically what you do is you give yourself a track, like a circle 8 like this. and you get your fly body, and you just get the body to move along this little track first, right? However, the speed. So right here, this would be drawing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So just from this example, there are 12 drawings in this little cycle. And you just animate this little body going through all of these positions, and you test it. You determine whether you like the speed of this or not. If this is 12 drawings on 2s, that would be a total of 24 frames. So that means he's going to go from this position all the way back through the cycle in 1 second. And that's kind of fast, because 1 second is this. Mark 1. So that's really, really fast. What I would suggest is maybe 4s. So if you have it on 4s, it's going to be 2 seconds. And you test it. Right, so each one of these positions is on for 4, and that's 2 seconds. So that means mark 2. So that's 2 seconds. And then you decide whether you like this or not, because you might want to put it on 8s, which is a total of 4 seconds. And that would be better. If you pick, yeah, try this. You put this amount of 12 drawings on 8s. This is 4 seconds, and you get this the way you like it. You get the little body. Right? Are you following along?
Yeah.
And then the wings are actually really easy. So your fly, let's say that your fly's body looks like this. It's got little antenna, right? Just a little guy like that. So the sequence on the wings is actually really easy. So I'm just going to change colors for you. So you draw one wing, and then you draw the other wing, and you try not to interrupt any of the drawings that you have. And then you put little wiggle lines. That's your drawing number 1. And then your next drawing is the wings are down, and you still have these little motion lines. And so the other wing is over here. And you still put these little wiggle lines on there. So this is drawing 1, this is drawing 2. And so whatever you got, you've got 12 drawings here. And so you got to plan this out. So wings are up, wings are up, wings, wings are in the middle. And then you do another one where the wings are down. And it doesn't have to be all the way down, but just maybe a little bit further down. You have them wiggling. And maybe you see a little bit more of the wiggle on the other side. So his body is like right here. So you're getting what I'm going at here?
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
is 3 position is down. Now the way you play this is that you can do it a couple of different ways. Because there's little wiggles on all of these, you can play this randomly, and you can just say up, middle, down, middle, up, middle. So you can just go back and forth like this. And it makes sense. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, like that. And that would be fine. It'll work. But it could also work if you do it randomly. So you go 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, because they're moving so fast that they're allowed to be anywhere in the space.
Huh.
So, right. So there's one option. A is to just do it 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. Or B is just to do a random. I'm just going to put a big R right there. And then, so that's really quick thing for you to do to figure out if that's working. So that's this whole setup, right? So that adds to the idea of what your animation is, because what you've got going is that your frog goes into perspective a little bit and then jumps over the log and lands right here. He catches the fly, right? So I think that what would also be kind of fun is if you get that one position where he's at the top of his arc and his legs are splayed, right? All right, so that's just the basic up position of your frog, right? Is my drawing reading okay?
Yeah.
So those are his little flippers. And so his eyes are up here. So when he's up here, have his eyes and open his mouth as wide as you need it to be, and have his tongue come out and snag the fly. Now, if we pose this out and we talk about just positions of the jump, so your squash is here, right? He's going to take his anticipation, and from this position, it's going to be squash, and this is technically an overshoot or a stretch position. What I would do is I would cheat this a little bit and make sure that there are, and remember what I'm doing here, right? These are positions along the arc, right? So you can have him blast up from this position, but have a bunch of drawings right here. And you can even take this same exact pose and put it here and then here and move it just a little bit to the right, to a little bit to the right, and then have him land. While at this position here, his mouth is opening up and his tongue is grabbing the fly here, and then sucking it back in here, and then the mouth is closed here, and then landing. So this is all on twos. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Sorry, so then just to add to the spectacular quality of this, I think that what might be really fun here is a giant water splash. And I'll show you how to do a water splash next week. It's actually really fun. And it only takes a few frames to get it to work. It takes about 10 or 12 drawings because there's like a little pond right here.
Yeah.
And so the log is right there and the pond is like that. And so just do a water splash. And I'll show you how to do it next week. This is most of it, right? And then you can figure out how you want it to end, because I think that one clever way to get it to end would be is that, and I'm paused on the wrong frame, but your frog is just kind of sitting here in the water all happy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I had.
Yeah. That's just the cleanest way. So take a screenshot of that.
Okay.
But so you got a really nice idea happening here. You're
Yeah,
gonna
got
win the Academy Awards for students. At least Paul will be happy. All right.
Yeah.
All right, so that looks really good. All right, does anyone else have anything that they would like me to look at?
I also cleaned up the head take thing from last week a little bit.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if you saw the run I cleaned up as well, but I did that too.
All right, and so where did you put them?
I put them,
Oh,
I know I put the head take turn under the head take thing. I think I put the updated run under late.
It looks really good. Oh yeah, it looks really good. So, you know what I would do, she's breaking the fourth wall here. And did we talk about this?
Yeah, we did talk about it a little bit, but I thought it was fun for the effect.
Yeah, I like this, but I think you should just end it right there.
Okay,
I don't think she needs to return to the exact same
Yeah.
position she was in.
I
mean,
did make it loop.
She's just witnessed this traumatic thing, right?
Yeah,
She's just witnessed the maid of honor fall into the wedding cake, right? Is that
Yeah.
what happened?
yeah.
So she's just standing there minding her own Victorian business. She turns to see what the noise was. She reacts to it. And you can even hold this drawing for a few frames longer. And then just have her like go, yeah, and hold that frame longer. And then have her look at the camera like, I'm out of here. But don't return to the same pose you started with. That's just not right. It looks
Okay.
really good though. The general timing looks really great. All right, so yeah, I'm not going to draw for that. And then you put the other one in
Late.
late. Okay. This says run, work in progress. Is that the right one?
Yeah, I think it should be the right one.
Okay. Yeah, it was great. The subtle change of the arc on the hair gives you the overlapping action that you need. Yeah, you got the right idea here. Are you sure you haven't animated in a studio before?
I haven't.
Yeah, I think you're lying to me. So yeah, you took some animation that was actually pretty rough. And by rough, I mean good. When I say when an animator says rough, that's a good thing. You don't want the animator to say messy, right?
Yeah.
You took an animation that was just really rough and got some really nice movement out of just some very simple lines. Well done.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I might color and like line and finish them, but
Yeah,
I'll
and then
see.
when you color it, you also might find that things are going to strobe around like crazy, and that
Yeah.
you might be able to see changes in the volume of her pant legs and arm. You might be able to see that like that's a little too small or something. It also might not matter to you, but it looks
Yeah.
really good. Really good, Ria. Very
Awesome.
good. All right, so I'm gonna do just one little, I'm gonna do an outro for you. Does everyone look how happy Hannah is right now. She's in the jungle. All right, just check in. I don't have any chats down there. All right. Hannah had said that your frog was cute, Ria, and you said thank you. Okay. So there's just a couple of things that I wanted to mention to all of you. Oh, and that is just a couple, this is just a couple of things. I think you're all doing spectacular. Again, I like the idea of, now that I see this, I mean, I can weight this as big as I want, but it's really not going to change the outcome of your grade at all. That's not going to matter. I think that you're all doing really, really well. You're making me look good. I'm going to send everything that you do to Paul and go, look. And that's a good thing. Kind of makes me want to keep teaching animation. Aw. So, but there's a couple of things I want to just outro with today. And that is that repeatedly, you heard me say the same kind of things where a character is standing in a neutral position. That means something. And when a character is standing in a neutral position, have that character hold that position for beats. Remember that a beat is 8 frames. 1 second is 3 beats of animation. So don't be afraid to think about beats in terms of 4, 5, 6, even 8 beats. It depends on what's happening with your narrative. When I say going into an anticipation, that's your squash drawing. So from whatever your critique was, whatever my notes that I gave you, if I said, here's your anticipation, always put an essence of squash on it. When your character's jumping at the top of that arc, that's where the character can be stretched. You know, there's all kinds of variety, but the character can be stretched in that top position of their arc. All right, and then they squash and stretch again when that character lands. It's just like a bouncing ball. And therein lies style. You can put as much squash and stretch onto this character as you would like. You could put minimal, you could put medium, you could put a lot, whatever you feel that you would like to try to experiment with. If you do a squash, you always have to have a stretch afterwards. If you have a squash and a stretch, you're usually going to need to settle back into a neutral key. Dramatic pause, right? Don't be afraid to hold things. I would like to see as many keyframes as you can draw, as you can get into next week, because then we have one more week after that to, when we're talking next week, we will have one more week after that to talk about finessing in-betweens and counteraction and overlapping actions and staging and any kind of corrections. So as many keyframes as you could draw. You saw me drawing them for you. They all look really great. As many keyframes as you can get for next week. Remember that drawings can just be rough, and rough is good, right? They do not have to be cleaned. And if you want, you can even draw arcs and leave your arcs on there and put your timing notes on a different layer and turn them off. That would be fine. But for next week, I think, again, you can either have, let me think about this. I think for next week, try to do this in Rough Animator and give me MP4s, give me QuickTime movies so that we can be really careful about whether we are drawing your backgrounds correctly, whether your staging is correct, where things are hitting the nodes correctly. And I'll do a water splash next week. So if anyone wants to add a water splash to their shot. Did we already do water? We did water.
Yeah.
We already did water. Well, you should already know how to do water. All right, Ria. Should have corrected me. Okay, anyone have any questions, comments, complaints, conundrums? Yeah, you're in trouble, Ria. And that's a good kind of trouble. It's kind of a kitty cat kind of trouble. Did you guys ever see that video of the cat climbing up the curtains? Did I show that to you? Like when the semester started? It's on Imgur. It's just a really great video of a woman. She's sitting like this with her head in her hand. And right here on the screen, there's a cat climbing up the curtains. And she's just shaking her head. She's like, fucking jerk. She's just letting him do it. All right. I'll see you all next week.